What's going on, guys? You're tuned into the Cutting Room Knife Review. I'm your host, Garrett, and today we're taking a look at the Buster FG. What's up, guys? I'm Garrett. You're tuned into the Cutting Room Knife Review, where I review knives, blades, and all things sharp. Please like and subscribe so I can keep bringing you more killer knife content. The Civivi Buster FG is a knife that makes me want to start by asking you guys a question. Why do you carry the knife that you carry? What is it about that knife that makes it for you? Is it the action of the knife? Is it the ergonomics of the knife? Maybe the materials that the knife was made out of? Is it because the knife has a specific locking mechanism to it? Is it how the knife carries in your pocket? Is it the scarcity of the knife? And maybe the knife is hard to get your hands on. Maybe there's only so many made in the entire world and you own one of those. Is it because of the company that the knife is made by? What is the reason that you carry your knife? Because with the Civivi Buster FG, it might not be for you, or it might be one of the coolest knives you've ever carried. This knife is definitely unique, and it's definitely not for everyone, but it could be an awesome knife for you if you're into the things that this knife brings to the table. I really love this knife. When I saw this knife for the first time being advertised, I went, oh my gosh, I need to have that. When does it come out? And I pre-ordered this knife. I pre-ordered a Civivi. And I don't know how much you, as my audience watching this knife review, know about, knife culture, but typically brands like Civivi don't have pre-orders for their knives. They just release their knives and they're sold. And if they're popular, they get put on like Amazon and they get sold by the thousands. If they don't sell, they get discontinued. But knives don't go on, Civivi knives don't go on pre-order that much. It's kind of was a mind-boggling thing to me. But when I looked at this knife, I realized this is going to be a popular knife. And, well, why is it popular? Well, I think that we have the creator. Snext Hand, the guy who designed this knife, designs some really cool knives. And he designed the Vision FG, which is another Civivi knife and perhaps the most popular Civivi knife. Certainly the best Civivi knife of all time. And this is kind of like the chonky big brother of the Vision FG. This is when it's called the Buster FG, and I have to think that it's a reference to the Buster sword. And if you're a video game person and you've played Final Fantasy VII, I believe it is, there is a sword, a weapon in the game, and it's the Buster sword. It's this giant, big, chunky, square sword that this blade just is obviously a tribute to. Now, there was We Knives, the parent company of Civivi that makes more high-end knives, came out with Mini Buster. And it had a blade like this, but it was a small, small knife. And it had a frame lock, and it had, I believe, a flipper tab on the back of it. So it wasn't much like this knife other than the shape of the blade. It was much smaller. I think it was called the Mini Buster. I don't honestly think it sold that well. Because the only reason I ever found out about it was I wanted to see if we made a knife like this Buster FG, and they make a blade kind of like it. But the knife really otherwise isn't much like this knife. So when I pre-ordered this knife, we got the dimensions for it, and we knew it was going to be big, but I don't think we understood how big it really was going to be. This is a huge knife. This is a heavy knife. This is just the most outrageous thing I think Civivi's ever made. And I'm here for it. I'm completely here for it. I think this is so much fun. And sometimes knives don't have to be practical. Sometimes knives can just be fun. And I just love this knife for the fun factor of it. It's hard to carry. It's heavy in your pocket. It's almost hard to use in some situations because you just have so much steel out in front of your hand. And I don't care. I love it. I love sitting around playing with this knife. It has crazy action because of how heavy the blade is. And we have this super lock that's just fun, but it's just, it's like, it's something out of a video game. And the kid in me, the fun spirit in me absolutely loves this knife. And, for the price, you really can't beat it. I think Civivi's done a really good job on this knife. And I want to go through the dimensions. I want to go through the materials and just the specifics of why this knife is so freaking fun and it's a good knife. Why I think if you are into having a fun knife, if you're into enjoying knife culture and maybe not having the most practical knife, but having a good time with your purchase, this is a knife you should have. So let's get into the specifics of this knife. Let's break it down. The specifications of the Buster FG should make you laugh if you understand pocket knives. The overall length of the Buster FG is 9.65 inches, guys. 9.65 inches. If you know what I prefer in a pocket knife, it is a knife that is between 7 and 8 inches. So this is over 1.5 inches more knife than I normally like. But I still love this knife. It is 1.72 inches wide. It is almost 2 inches wide when it's closed. Its overall height, including the clip, is 0.68 inches, and that's actually fairly reasonable. That's not a weird measurement. They've managed to keep it pretty narrow. They call it the height of the knife. So it's a short knife. I guess it's not incredibly thick for how big this knife is. It's not thick. The blade length of the Buster FG is 4.2 inches, which doesn't come off as super absurd, but for a folder, it's pretty absurd. For a fixed blade knife, no, that's pretty common to have like a 4.2 inch knife. But for a folder, it's a lot of steel out there. It just really is. It has a closed length of 5.47 inches. That means the handle right here is 5.47 inches. So this is a lot in your pocket. Almost 1 3/4 inch with width and 5.5 inches-ish long. Still, there are knives that take up more of your pocket than this. Now, it is heavy. It is definitely a heavy knife. It weighs in at 6.2 ounces, where honestly, it feels like more. This knife feels heavy. I don't know why it feels so heavy. There's other 6-ounce knives in my collection. Now they're all going to be big knives, but this knife just feels heavy. It feels substantial, and I don't mind it. I'm here for it. Again, this is a fun knife. We're not taking this knife too seriously. The blade thickness of this knife is pretty thick. It's a 4mm thick blade, or 0.16 inches. So as much as I want to say this is slicey and nice, and it does come razor sharp from Civivi, there's so much blade here that it's not going to be the most effective blade for slicing things. It's not going to be bad. It's a big flat ground blade, but eventually it's going to get thick up here. As you can see, hopefully when it focuses, I get it to focus. Once it gets up here, it gets on the thicker side than it is down here. But that's pretty gradual, and I've cut some stuff off with this knife. It's really not too hard to use. It's the length and the weight of this knife that kind of seems cumbersome if you're to take it to like a work situation. But once again, I don't really have this knife as a everyday carry work knife. This is a fun knife. This is a collector's knife, in my opinion. Now let's go over the materials and just what makes up this Buster FG. So the Buster FG has a typical steel that Civivi loves to use in many of their knives. It has a Nitro V steel. And for as much just this big chunk of steel that they give you out in front of the knife for the blade, it makes sense to use Nitro V. It's inexpensive, it's effective, it takes a really good edge. I don't find anything wrong with Nitro V. It's kind of a adaptation of 14C28N. It is a very durable steel compared to 14C28N. It's not quite a D2. It's not quite as corrosion resistant as 14C28N, but it's going to be more durable, and it's definitely much more corrosion resistant than D2 is. It's going to lack a little bit in the toughness factor compared to D2, but I think the Nitro V sits right in between those other two steels, the 14C28N and the D2. And those are going to be the steels that you see Civivi use, and honestly most knife makers use in this price range of knives. Now, this knife is a $97 pocket knife. It could start getting into the 154 cm. You will see that at that price range, but really, for how much knife you have here, the $97 you're spending is actually on the amount of material that you have, and they're going to have to use blade materials and handle materials that they're going to find on $60 to $70 pocket knives, and basically what you're just getting is just more of it, and that's what you're spending your money on, is just more knife here. So we have the hardness coming in at 58 to 60 HRC, and for Nitro V, that's okay. It is what it is. It's just a BB. You're getting a blade steel that works. It's not going to hold an edge forever. But the cool thing about the Nitro V is it takes a really awesome edge. If you know how to sharpen a knife, you can turn this thing into a laser beam. After you cut some stuff, you're going to have to go turn it into a laser beam again, and over and over and over. But most people aren't going to be hard using the Civivi. I really don't think that they are. We have G10 scales on this blue version. So the blue handle with the satin blade has G10 handles. There are two other versions of the Civivi Buster. I believe one is both. It's a two-tone blade. You have a black PVD grind and a satin flat on it. Looks really cool. I believe it has G10 as well for the black scales. It has some yellow in it too. It's a little flashy for me. And then we have the black PVD blade with the micarta scales. And I have it right over here. So this is the other version of the Civivi Buster FG, which has the green micarta scales on it and the black PVD blade. This Buster FG right here is my personal Buster, and this Buster FG right here is the Buster that is going to be given away for my 100 subscriber giveaway. Somebody right before this episode airs is going to win this knife right here, and I'm super excited for them. I think this is an awesome knife. You get all this awesome black and green Buster. I think the PVD kind of has almost a black wash to it on the blade. It's every bit the same knife. The micarta really has a little bit slicker of a feel than this G10 does. This G10 has a little bit more texture to it. This one's a little bit smoother. Which one you like, really up to you. I think this is a great feeling knife in the hand. I really like the black and green. I'm almost a little bit jealous. I really think it's a cool looking knife, and I really hope that whoever wins this knife enjoys the heck out of it. I sure would. But if we look at the other side of the knife, we don't have a lock side on this knife, by the way, because it has a super lock that I'll get into in a second. We have the typical Civivi deep carry pocket clip. Civivi does an awesome job with their clips. The deep carry pocket clip on these knives is just a great idea for it being such an inexpensive knife. It's a nice touch. These aren't crazy nice pocket clips, but they're not bad pocket clips. And since they're deep carry, it's definitely preferable where it puts the whole knife in your pocket and you don't have a bunch of the butt end of the knife sticking out. The last thing I want to talk about as far as materials and just the makeup of this knife goes is going to be the super lock. The super lock is a very innovative lock that was designed by the designer of this knife, it's next hand. And the super lock basically is a bar that is has a spring back here. So you have a spring in here, you have a bar, and the blade has a little hook on it, actually right here, that you're going to see. And this little divot hook that comes around is going to lock behind a bar that we can then pull back on and release the blade. This is a very strong lock. This is an amazing lock for the money. It is by far the best lock that Civivi offers. Civivi usually only offers plunge locks, also known as button locks, or you'll find that they have liner locks. Some have crossbar locks, and some have frame locks, very few and far between. But out of all the locks I could choose for a Civivi, the Super Lock is the one that I would go with, and they are only on the Snex Tan knives, so you have very limited choice of which you want on it, or which you want them on, excuse me. But the Super Lock is an awesome lock, and not only is it good for strength, but it's really good for the fidget factor of this knife. It keeps your hand out of the way of the blade path when it closes, and it is just as usable by a lefty as it is a righty. So making this knife ambidextrous. You can reverse the pocket clip on this knife. So Civivi remembered you lefties, so lefties rejoice. It's just as easy of a knife to use, and you have every ability to switch the pocket clip side. So it's every bit as good for a lefty as a righty, which most people are right-handed. They don't think about those things, but as a knife reviewer, I do know that you left-handed people are out there, and you definitely get burned sometimes by knives when they don't offer aesthetics and ergonomics, and more so than even aesthetics and ergonomics, they don't offer functionability that's suitable for a left-handed person, and that kind of stinks. So this knife is made out of rather inexpensive materials, but it's made really well. It's really well thought out. The blade material is what you're going to expect on a Civivi. The handle material is what you're going to expect on the Civivi. It's put together well, has a good pocket clip, has a great lock. Everything works great on it. You're going to have it running on ball bearings, and those ball bearings are very fluid. These are some of the best feeling bearings on any Civivi knife. My hat's off to that. It has a decent detent to it. Almost all the super locks are going to have a good detent to them. So this Civivi is put together as well as any knife Civivi puts together. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, put together knife by Civivi. Now, there's only one real concern about this knife that got brought up immediately by people who are into buying this knife and they want to sharpen the knife. So if we see the lock bar stopper is right here, this is what stops the bar, the lock when it's closed. It's right back, it winds up being right back here. And it's this right here when the knife is open. So when you are sharpening the knife, because we have a straight blade, this angle is straight right here, as we sharpen the knife, we're going to eventually take off knife material every time we sharpen it, especially if you really, really are into sharpening and you want to get your blade really sharp. You are going to have to start by taking off some blade material. If you're going to put a different kind of edge on it, different degree of edge, you're going to be taking off steel from this knife and not just like rehoning the steel. This distance from here to here isn't a ton of distance, people were saying. So as you take off steel, eventually you're going to run into this stop bar. I think it's nonsense. I think it's just a stupid thing to complain about. Yes, it's close, and yes, they could have definitely done something different with this part of the knife. And I'm sure when the Buster FG 2.0 comes out next 10 because he's already addressed this to the public, that he realizes that this is a flaw, but really, in my opinion, you're going to have to take off so much blade steel from this knife that if you take it back this far, you're done using the knife. Anyway, you've used the hell out of this knife. You've gotten every penny. You squeezed every penny out of the the stone or the washcloth. I don't know what you squeeze the penny out of. You're going to squeeze every penny out of this knife if you take the knife back this far in sharpening it. Also, the blade gets so thick because it's a flat grind that you're eventually going to have basically too thick of a blade, and that might actually happen before you get to here. It's not something I would be worried about on a $97 knife. If you've sharpened it the 20 or 30 times where you go in and sharpen the absolute heck out of the knife, where you're taking off that much steel, you've gotten your use out of this knife. People that expect to have a forever knife out of a sub $100 knife, I think, are crazy this day and age. You're living in the 80s. Money just doesn't go as far as it used to. It's why my budget series is $100 and under. That might make some people cringe, but really, guys, $100 is $100, but under $100 is a deal for anything with this much material in it, this much engineering, this much thought. There's only so much money to be made off $100 or $97 in this case. So Civivi has to make money to release a knife. It has to be practical for them. And there's so much just steel on this knife. There's so much just raw materials on this knife that your complaints don't ring true with me. I'm sorry. You're allowed to complain. You're allowed to have your own opinion. I'm not talking smack to you, but I just am disagreeing with you that if you are basically saying that if you take the knife this far back on the blade and you expect to still have a knife, just go buy another knife, man. And just go buy this again. You probably have a $300 or $400 knife out there, and you could buy 4 of these for the price of that. And just, you're probably not using this knife that much either. It's a fun knife. It's not a practical knife that you're just going to be using day in, day out for everything. I don't think people are just going to daily carry this knife. Okay, so it's one complaint I've heard so many times on Reddit, and I'm addressing my opinion on it, and it's that you're really crying over, nothing that's going to matter. You're probably not going to take the blade back that far, and if you do, you've gotten all your money's worth out of this knife. All right, so guys, let's compare the Civivi Buster FG to other knives that are popular. We have to, of course, start off with the Spyderco Para 3, and prepare to laugh, you guys. That's the Para 3. It's a little bit bigger, guys. It's just a little bit bigger. He's just a little guy. Don't worry about this big guy. Your girlfriend said it wasn't a big deal anyway. So this is the Paramilitary 2, which is what I would consider a medium to medium large carry knife. And it is still much smaller than the Civivi Buster FG. This is a big old knife, you guys. If the Paramilitary 2 looks like this next to the Buster FG, you can just probably understand how freaking big this knife is. All right. Let's look at it next to a few other knives. So I brought out what is a very big knife, and that is the Manix 2XL. And as you can see, we still have a bigger knife than the Manix 2XL. The Manix 2XL is gigantic, you guys. This is a chunky beast of a Spyderco. It is a chef's knife in a folder. It is just, it's a step below a kitchen knife, in my opinion. It's an amazing knife. It's a great knife. I love my Manix 2XL, but it is huge. And oftentimes I find it too big for an everyday carry. And the Civivi Buster FG is even bigger than the Manix 2XL. We have what I consider a very long knife, the Golden Design Works caliber. It's an easy to carry knife, but it is long. It is what I would consider a long knife, long stretched out this way, not so much this way. And it is not nearly as long. It gets made to look like a fairly compact knife compared to the Buster FG. Now, I want to compare it to two of its counterparts that have the same lock. So if you love the lock of the Buster FG, you have, of course, its little brother, the very famous Vision FG. And this Vision FG is a lot like this knife. It has a bit more belly and swoop to the blade, but they work on the same locking mechanism. They actually have a very similar feel to them. Now, this knife's blade does not seem to fly out and just click up like this knife does. It has a great lockup. It has a really good feel to it. You kind of have to send the blade snapping out with your thumb with the action, whereas the Buster FG kind of just like, you get it going and the knife just takes off because of all the weight of the blade. And one last knife is we have the Demko AD 20.5 in the shark's foot. And this is pretty much a full-size knife, you guys. You can hold on to it with 4 fingers and then choke up on it. It doesn't have the longest blade, but it looks very small next to the Buster FG. Now, Demko and Civivi have very similar locking mechanisms in these 3 knives. Demko uses only this locking mechanism, which is called the shark lock. And it works on basically the same principle as the super lock. It has a little bit different of a feel to it. Not a whole lot. I think the Demko might be a little more refined in my opinion. They have a little bit different feel to the detent on their knives, but you're going to be spending a lot more money on a Demko unless you get. There is a Shark Cub in AOS 10 that is in the price range of these. I need to get it for my budget banger series. And I think that the base model Shark Cub in the AOS 10 steel would be a great comparison to the Civivi Vision FG, as they are pretty much the same price. And I would like to see which is the better knife because it's as pretty much as budget as Demko gets. But going back to the Civivi Buster FG, it's a big old freaking knife, you guys. It is huge. It is absolutely ginormous. I don't think there's a better word for it. This is a ginormous knife. Absolutely huge. There's not another knife that I have in my collection that is even close to it. Actually, I take that back, you guys. I take that back. You wait right here, and I'm going to get another knife that might hold a candle to it. And it's another knife that is just a fun knife. I think you're going to laugh. All right, guys, I'm back. And what I have here is a knife that is another knife that I have just for fun. And when I bought it, I thought it was cool. And I really never used it. I never use it because it's just too big to carry. But here it is, and this is the first time I've actually been able to use this knife for really anything, and it is for a comparison. It is the Kaiser Sheepdog XL, which if you know your knives, you know that the Sheepdog XL is absolutely gigantic. It is a huge freaking knife, you guys. And the Civivi Buster FG is very, very similar to the Kaiser Sheepdog XL. And it's actually a remarkable comparison. These are very, very close knives. The Sheepdog definitely has the Civivi in the thickness of the blade. The Civivi has a little bit in the length of the blade. This is a frame lock. This is a super lock. We have an aluminum. I believe it's aluminum. Maybe it's steel. I don't know. We have a not titanium body with a frame lock. And then we have, of course, our G10 and steel with a super lock on this knife. But yeah, this is a knife that I never use, and I kind of just have in a drawer, and I pull it out for laughs every once in a while to show my friends. But it is very comparable to the Civivi Buster FG. Now, weight-wise, I think it's a little lighter. Maybe not. They're actually really close. They're really close. I'm surprised. I really didn't think this one through. It kind of came to me as I was doing this review that these might be close, and I'm surprised at how close they really are. Now, the Kaiser is going to have, in this version, S35VN, which is going to definitely be a step up in steel from the Nitro V. It's going to come in at closer to, I think, on sale right now, $135. I think you can find this one for. I know that you can find the XL, their Vanguard series, for a little bit cheaper with 154 cm. I might be tripping. This one might be more money in the 35, and the $135 might be the 154 cm Vanguard version. Don't quote me on it. Future me in the editing booth will let me know which one is correct. But this is definitely going to be the less expensive of this model, although these are probably the two most comparable knives that I have in my collection. So my final thoughts on the Buster FG are that you have to ask yourself with this knife, why are you buying a knife? What's the point behind it? Do you buy knives just for fun? Do you buy knives because they're cool, because you want them to add them to your collection? Or do you only buy knives because they're functional and they serve a purpose in your collection where they, can do something specific for you and your cutting tasks every day? Now, can the Civivi Buster FG cut things? Yes, totally. It actually is a good, sharp knife. It is big. It is really big, you guys. I have brought this to work a couple times, and not only is it big in my pocket, I pull it out, and it's borderline would scare somebody in certain situations. It's just huge. It's hard for me to keep this knife in the frame of the video. That's how hard this knife is. I usually don't have this hard of a time being able to manipulate a knife, and I'm able to move it around a lot more with my hands, and this knife kind of just takes up like almost the whole screen when I'm holding it with my hands. So there's very little room on both sides. I flip it out, and I have to pull my hand back to keep the knife in frame, and honestly, it sticks out of the frame if I don't do it corner to corner. This is a huge knife. This is a fun knife. So once again, why do you own the knife? What is the purpose of having the knife that you have? Do you buy knives for fun? If you buy knives for fun, for the love of God, get the Civivi Buster FG. It is a ton of fun. If you're a fan of the Vision FG and you want a big knife, you want an XL version, basically the Buster is a lot like the XL version of the Vision FG. I think the Vision FG has a bit more usable of a blade shape with this swooping reverse Tonto, whereas this is a sheep's foot blade shape. But this is going to be slicey, and you're going to be able to take on your tasks. I find it really the funnest just for fidgeting. It's fun to fidget with. It's a big knife. If you want to, if you're a big knife type of person, this knife is for you. This is the big knife of big knives, in my opinion. If you are a Super Lock fan, this knife is for you. This is the biggest knife you're going to find in a Super Lock, other than maybe the Demco 8020 XL. That's another huge, gigantic knife. But you're looking at, I think you're pushing over $600 on that knife, if not even more. This is a sub $100 knife. You can get this knife for $97. For $97, this is so much fun. This is just a blast of a knife for $97. I think that it has the function of a knife much more expensive than it, just like its little brother, the Civivi Vision FG. These knives are better than the other Civivi knives. They are more fun than the other Civivi knives. They have better action. They have better fidgetability. They are still made out of the Nitro V blade steel, which means that it's, the actual function of the knife cutting is basically the same as you'd get in any Civivi, but the experience is definitely a step above your average Civivi with both of these knives. If you're a little knife person or you have small hands, this knife might not be for you. It just might not. It's a big old chonker of a knife. That being said, my wife likes this knife. She thinks it's cool. She thinks it's fun. There's no reason that, professionals with small hands can't enjoy this. It's just big. I have a big hand, and it fits in my hand, and I can choke all the way up on it and have handle sticking out. I can pull back on it and have, plenty of grip still going. We do have some nice jimping right here. We have the two nice cutouts for your finger with the choil and then the handle cutout. It fits really good in the hand. It's comfy. It's a good knife. It's just freaking huge. So it's fun. I'm going to say it's fun, you guys. It's fun, and it's not expensive. It's $97. And if $97 is a lot for you, I'm sorry. I'm not looking down on you. I'm not talking down to you at all. Maybe this is a lot of money to buy this knife, and if that's the case, maybe it's not the knife for you. But if you have $97 to spend on a knife, and you have 97 fun bucks to spend on a knife, this is a killer knife to go do it. I think there's a lot of less fun knives out there for this price range. And there's a lot of knives that wouldn't give you the same, at least me, the same joy as I have with this knife. I just get a kick out of this thing. And I hope that you do too, because I recommend that you go and pick yourself up a Buster FG. It's fun. It gets my seal of approval. I do have those warnings of it's gigantic and maybe it's not for you, but if it is for you and you want to try it out, it really shouldn't break the bank. And I think you're going to have a great time with it. Once again, whoever wins this knife, or by the time this airs, whoever has won this knife, congratulations. I really hope you enjoy this knife. This is a killer knife. I am pumped to give it away. I'm pumped to have over 100 subscribers. I think we're pushing over 120 as I record this right now. It keeps growing and growing, and I just love all of you so much. I can't thank you enough. It is my pleasure to go on here and talk about knives. It is what I love to do. And because of you guys, I get to keep doing it. So thank you so, so much. I can't express that enough, how grateful I am to you. So this knife will be going to somebody. It is going to somebody by the time that you're hearing me say this. It has been announced that it has gone to somebody. So whoever gets this knife, congratulations. I am just absolutely over the moon for you. So my final thoughts are, it's a thumbs up, you guys. A fun knife. And there's reasons to own a fun knife, and it's okay for a knife to just be fun. This is the Civivi Buster FG. This is the Cutting Room Knife Review, and I am your host, Garrett. Till next time, you guys, stay sharp.